All right, so we have started looking at functions here. So we know how to create a function and do things inside of that function and then call that function in our main. That way we are compartmentalizing our code, but most importantly, we're refactoring all of our statements into one piece of enclosed set and name that set so we can actually call it and it will just do whatever we want it to do. In this case, we'll just print out hello functions, and in this case, we're also calling the say my name function. So this can also happen, right? You can also do this. Now let's go ahead and talk about return types. Now what is this return types? We've talked about types before. We talked about strings, integers, of course, which are included in numbers, doubles, booleans, and so forth, right? Those are types. Now with functions, we can also make it so that they return type. Now in order for something to return something, it has to have a type, right? Because if I create, let's say, a business that sells cats, the idea is that every time that I need a cat, I go to that business or that store and purchase a cat. And what I expect from a cat store, I don't expect dogs, right? Unless it's a shelter, then they have all sort of animals. But the idea is that you get what you expect, right? So if I go to a cat store, I expect to get a cat. If I go to a dog store, I expect to get a dog. So all of those dog, cat, cows are types. Does it make sense? So with functions, we have the same concept. Now you notice here the way we did this. So I did this on purpose. I created this function. I didn't put any type, or I didn't specify what kind of function this is. Well, implicitly, if you don't put anything before you add the name of the function, that means is a void. So this is the key called void. What does void means? Void just means it doesn't return anything, which means we can put whatever we want inside here in this code block, if you will, do all the calculations, all the logic that we want, and then just call it. And whatever it's inside here is going to be called and we're good to go. But there are times when we actually want our functions to return something. Well, in this case, we have to make sure that we're returning certain types. It has to be a certain type. That's the reason why if you want to return something, instead of having a void, we have to, for instance, say what is the type that we want to return. So if I want to return a string from my function, what do you think I have to start with? There we go, string, and then I can say show name. Look at that, and I can go ahead and say, now notice what's going to happen here. If you hover over, this function declares a return type of string, but does not end with a return statement. There we go. Because now we said, well, this show name is of type string, which means it has to return a string type. A string of any sort. And for that to happen, we have to use the return keyword. What am I returning? I can just go ahead and say hello from show name. Just like that. Now you may say, okay, Apollo, okay, I get this. This is very cool. So I just created a function and I made it to be a string type, which means it must return a string. That's great. But what is the purpose of this? Well, the cool thing about this, having return types, is that we know exactly what we're expecting, just like I said before. But check this out. I can come down up here. Let me go ahead and comment this out in our main. And what I can do, I can actually, let me get rid of this too. We don't need that. While we're here, let's just go ahead and get rid of this as well. So I can come here and I can say, look, I can say show name. Let's run this and see what's going to happen. Nothing happens. Even though I said here return hello from show name. Should we expect this hello from show man since we called it? Yes. Do we have a bug? Is there something wrong with our code? Did we make a mistake? Well, obviously not, because everything compiled fine. Why aren't I seeing hello from name? Well, the reason why here, notice, because we said we were returning a string, we didn't say to print that string. You see the difference here? Which means at the top here, I can actually say var name is equal to that. I can set it because I'm returning a string, right? Which means then I can go ahead and say print name. And look, voila, hello from show name. Or I could have just said here show name, pass the method, the function, and run, and it would say hello from show name. Okay, so you can see now the power that I have. I now know exactly what type to expect, right? Which means once I call it, I can put in a variable, or I can straight call it in a print statement or anywhere else I want. But most importantly, I have that flexibility now. I can use this show name anywhere. I can even add, say, plus hello of some sort. Right? I'm doing concatenation here. It's a different way of concatenating strings. Just said here, show name. Look at that. See? Can go get rid of all of this if I wanted to, because it's all the same thing. See? Now, again, we are using the $sign and our squiggly brackets or braces here, and call the show name as a verb, as an expression, because it is indeed an expression, right? And it works. Run again. Hello from show name. But it only works because we are returning something. Notice, if I were to do the same thing here, I'm going to get rid of this. Instead of show name, I'm going to call, let's call the do something. Do we have that do something? Yes, we do. I'm going to just call this. Let's run. Look at that. It says hello, null. Why? Because it's not because this is a void in this case, and it's not returning anything that I can capture and put as a variable and then actually display it. So that is indeed the power that we're given by returning using a return type of our method, and this is very, very crucial. In this case here, we just looked at the string return type. Well, what prevents me from doing, let's say, an int return type? Show age, okay, return 34. So what I can do here, I'm going to do the same thing because it's an expression. I'm going to have to do this, right? The $sign and then braces, and then here I'm going to say show age. Quick run, hello, hello from show name, and there's 34, the age. I could have done the same thing too, right? Because it's returning something. I can either say int, because I know I'm getting int, and say age is equal to show age. Right? So now we have our age here. I could have copied this, and now because it's not an expression, it's just a variable like this, it would still work. 34. Okay, so we can do the same thing also for booleans. Say bool. Say is known, for instance. Okay, it has to return true or false. I'm going to say true, right? And of course we can make, I'm simplifying everything here. Of course we could have probably create something like if var age is equal to 67. I can say if age is greater than 4, then return true, okay, else return false. Okay, so if I call is known, let's see what's going to happen. Let's go to our hello here. I can just go ahead and say print. Let's say is it true? I'm gonna pass our expression, okay, or in this case our method or function is known, like this, right? Run. Let's see what's going to happen. Is it true? Is it true indeed? Let's see. If age is greater than 4, return true, else return false. Right. Age is 67, and 67 is indeed greater than 4. That's why return true is called, or is returned, if you will. Ah, You see now things that we can do, folks. Very nice. Very, very nice indeed. So now you know we have void, which is a type, right? Returns nothing. And then we have the return types, Boolean, int, and string. And because we haven't talked about objects, once we talked about objects, you will see that return types can be of any type that we even create. That's where the beauty of object-oriented programming language comes to surface. And that's where the real good fun begins. This is still really fun, but once we get to the object-oriented and we will understand how to craft real good program software, it's just like butter. If you don't like butter, then I'm sorry. It's like whatever you like the most, but I like butter. All right. So, okay, go ahead and play around with this concept again, okay? But I really want you to understand what's going on here. We talked about the void, which means doesn't return anything. In fact, you can see we don't use the return keyword. Now, if you want to return something from our functions, we have to precede the type that we want to return. In this case, bool, well, we have to return a bool. And notice the moment you do that, you have to return something because that is the contract, okay? Int has to return an integer, string has to return a string. All right, go ahead and play around with this concept. Go and be creative, create different kind of functions and play around this concept. This is how learning happens, folks, and I shall see you in the next video.